You know, it's often say that the people who are in therapy are there because of those that actually deeply, deeply need it but refuse to actually go for therapy. So, food for thought. Because at the end of the day, you are like flooding people. You deluge those people like, you know, a tropical cyclone with all this pain, all this trauma that's just bleeding down from the wounds that are not even healed. And sometimes it's because maybe you do not believe in therapy, you don't think of it. So today we've got a very interesting topic, and our topic for today is unhealed trauma in parents. I'm Psychotherapist Sottovoce Ruach, and joining me today we have got right here Tawanda and Tawanda. Welcome, guys.
Hey, how are you?
Introduce yourselves.
So, I'm Tawanda Lioga. I'm a trauma-informed mental health social worker, and I'm a person that believes in healing the inner child and finding ways to connect you with that inner child so you can live your purpose and progress in life in a more healed perspective.
Thank you. Tawanda.
Okay, I'm Tawanda Murepa from Young People Mental Health Trust. I'm a mental health advocate, and I believe I'm also a social entrepreneur.
I love that, social entrepreneur. What really is that?
Social entrepreneur is, so in Zimbabwe, for example, we have social enterprise or social issues that are going on.
Okay.
And so there was a gap in terms of monetizing those social,
right.
Yes. So the social entrepreneur is, I see a problem, I invest on it, and then I help.
Awesome. So today we've got a problem.
Yes.
That it's not about it, we want to go deep, and like I always say to everybody, let's go for the jugular. We've got a problem. Unhealed trauma in parents. What is trauma? Let's start by actually defining trauma itself.
I'll go with this one. So with trauma, it's basically your feelings, your emotions, events that have happened in your past that have hurt you, that have wounded you, or that made you close yourself from the situation that's happening. And at times you grow with it without knowing how it's affecting you. So you can get to an adult life without knowing you've got trauma. But there will be signs that a traumatic person can have their ways in how they deal with people out there.
Okay. So basically what we're saying is trauma is like your perceived interpretation of a perceived threat within your emotions. So I wonder what's your take?
Maybe to add on some examples on trauma. Let's say a life-threatening situation that happened, maybe death, or maybe accident, or maybe sexual abuse. Those are the examples of trauma.
Okay.
Yes.
But then
so now how you perceive that kind of situation, then now it has to relate to also the healing process.
Okay.
And and also how you perceive them in future.
But guys, look, we want to also delve and bring it back to the family setup, to what I call subtle traumas. And subtle traumas are things that happen in your day-to-day life. For example, the Njolo pandemic, I love to work with people who are experiencing spouse betrayal trauma. So those people have something very similar to post-betrayal, postpartum trauma, right? Or any post-depression trauma and things like that. So in this case, this is post-spouse betrayal trauma syndrome. And we're saying parents have that, right? Something that comes into their adult life and it comes to them, it hits them. And they don't get the healing, they don't go through any professional help to process that. That's number one. Number two, childhood issues, where they're coming from, whatever setup. So those are the things that I want us to delve deeper into.
Now, this is the interesting part of trauma. We have an African way of raising our children that may seem correct, but we don't realize it's actually abuse.
Really?
And most of the trauma that children experience is being beaten because they didn't do something right. They're neglected because maybe the parents are busy or doing what they're doing. And sometimes it just comes down to not listening to our children when they want to share their day, talk about themselves. So that bond that is slowly breaking because the parent is physically not present, it does something to a child, and those are the most traumas that kids actually end up growing with. So for instance, let's say you're not close with your mom, or your father left, divorce, separation. When you become an adult, it's going to be quite difficult for you to trust into another person because you don't understand that it's trauma resonating from the fact that your mom left you when you were a child. And another one that we take for granted is when parents go overseas to work. That's a very important one.
Absolutely.
For the sake of sustaining the family. And we're not saying it's a bad thing, but circumstances happen that children are raised by their grandparents. But then the unfortunate part is that separation from the child to the parents, it does a lot. It impacts a lot.
I love that. I love that because you went deep into the things that are actually traumatizing people on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Even when your dad is working in Mzarabani and you're just left with your mom and, all those. Tawanda.
Maybe to add on trauma, I always want to give this example. I don't know if it's proper. So the example is this. I get married, maybe I have a wife, right? And then I love okra, right? And ndatenga derere rangu town, right? Ndikuenda kumba. Ndosvika, my wife, can you cook for me? And then ari kungoisa derere rakadaro muposho obva atanga kungobika rakadaro. It's now sliced into pieces.
Oh, wow.
And then I had to ask my wife, no, what is this? No, ndozvatakakura kumba zvichiitwa namama vangu. Okay, so tobata phone akazina, nhai mama, mwana wenyu andibikira dere rakadai so. Kochi, ndozvatakakura ndichiona from mama vangu. And then I was lucky enough gogo vachiri vapenyu. Gogo, kunoku dere riri kubikwa so. And what is going on? And then tanga tisina banga, then tine banga ndaigona kucheka. So now we lost 3 generations. Trauma, exactly.
Thank you. Very powerful. There you have it. We have a multi-generational trauma that's coming. Why? Because apana banga. Sit right there. We're just going to take a short break. Think about it. Apana banga. Where is it that the banga is missing in your life? We're going to be right back.